Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings to all of us, the Honorable Miss Yusti Arini as a lecturer in the Language Learning Assessment course, and all my friends. Introducing me, Naila Farah, with student ID number 2161121019 from class 4A English Education. On this occasion, I will present the result of my study to fulfill the mid-semester examination assignment for the Language Learning Assessment course. Alright, I will start my presentation. The first material from the group 1, concept, functions, objective, object, tools, and procedures of evaluation. Concept of evaluation. Evaluation of learning is a professional competence of an educator. Definition of evaluation, assessment, and measurement. Evaluation is an activity or process that is systematic, sensible, and comprehensive in order to control, guarantee, and determine the quality, value, and meaning of various learning components based on certain consideration and criteria. And assessment is a process or activity that is systematic and continues to collect information about the process and learning outcomes of students in order to make decisions based on certain criteria and consideration. And the next point, measurement is a process to determine the quantity of something. And function of evaluation ada 4, yaitu formative function, summative function, diagnostic function, and placement function. And objective of evaluation. The general objective is to collect information materials that will be used as evidence regarding the level of development of level of progress experienced by students after they have followed the learning process for a certain period of time, and to measure and assess the extent to which teaching effectiveness and teaching methods have been implemented. The specific objective is to stimulate the activities of students in taking educational progress. And the next point, object of evaluation. The object of educational evaluation is everything related to educational activities or process that are the center of attention of our observation, because the assessor or evaluator may want to information about the educational activity or process. Uh, the next point, tools of evaluation. Di sini ada dua jenis, yaitu test dan non-test. Yang pertama, test. The test is an assessment tool in written form to record or observe student achievement in line with the assessment target. The tests are divided into 5 groups according to its nature, according to its purpose, according to the manufacturer, according to the form of the question, and according to or in term of the object being test. And yang kedua, non-test. Non-test is a way of assessing student learning outcomes which is carried out without testing students. With the non-test technique, the assessment or evaluation of student learning outcomes can be carried out by direct observation. Ada 3, yaitu observation, interview, and questionnaire. And the next point, procedures of evaluation ada 5, yaitu planning, data collection, data verification, data analysis, and data interpretation. Okay, the next material from group 2. The concept of authentic assessment. What is authentic assessment? Authentic assessment is a course evaluation method where the student applies their knowledge to unique real-life context or situation. Instead of weighting a student's performance against a standardized benchmark, the student execute text using the skill and knowledge from the course. The next point, characteristic of authentic assessment such as first, authentic assessment starts with clear, definite criteria of performance made known to the student. The second, authentic assessment requires students to make their own answer to question rather than select from given option as in multiple choice items and requires them to ask a ranges of higher order thinking skill. And the next point, example of authentic assessment activities such as first doing science experiments, second conducting social science field research, the third writing stories and report, and the last reading and interpreting literary pieces and etc. The next point, advantage of authentic assessment such as first, it encourage students to actively participate in evaluation process. The second, authentic assessment provides variable evidence of student knowledge and application of that knowledge. The third, it prepares students to take on real life challenge and etc. And disadvantage of authentic assessment such as first, authentic assessment is highly subjective and the result can be unreliable, and the second, authentic assessment typically record detailed, personalized, and specific, which can take a lot of time. Okay, the next point from the group 3, language learning assessment. Definition of the test. The term test is taken from the word witness and old friend term meaning plat for setting aside precious metals. There is also which interpreted as a plate made of soil. The next point, types and kinds of tests. This test can be divided into three types, namely di sini ada 3 jenis tes. Yang pertama ada written test, oral test, and performance test. Yang written test itu is a test that demands answer from student in written form. Terus yang oral test ini is a test that demands answer from student in oral form. Student will say the answer in their own word according to the question or command is given. And performance test or practice test is a test that requires student answer in the form of behavior or action. The next point, base of the arrangement. Di sini ada teacher made test and standardized test. Terus yang dari based on the number of student ada individual test, namely test carried out individually and group test, dan yang terakhir ada namely test held in groups. Dan yang dari based on purpose ada diagnostic test, formative test, and summative test. Okay, the next material from the group 4, rules in constructing test item and test scoring. The purpose of preparing this guide is to improve the professional ability of a teacher in preparing and writing this item. Each item written must be based on the formulation of question indicators that have been complied in the grid and based on the rules for writing objective from question and the rules for writing description question. Based on the scoring method, the description form is classified into two, namely, di sini ada 2 jenis, yaitu objective description and non-objective description. Writing multiple choice question, the first step is to write the main question. The second step is to write the answer K, and the third step is to write the exception. Multiple choice question include ada basic question, terus ada the main question, and answer choice consisting of answer K and exemptions. Writing items for action test and action test or practice test is test whose assessment is based on the action or practice of student. And the next point, writing items for non-test instrument. Non-test instrument are instrument other than learning assessment tests. Assessment tools that can be used include the observation sheet, such as diaries, portfolios, life skill, and test instrument for attitudes, interests, and etc. In non-test grids, the format usually contains dimension indicators, number of item per indicator, and item numbers. And the next point, preparation on items that require high reasoning. There are several ways that question writers can use as guideline to write question items that require higher reasoning. The first, the material to be asked is measured by behavior, understanding, application, synthesis, analysis, or evaluation, not just memory. And the second, each question is given a question-based stimulus. And the third, measure critical thinking skill. And the fourth, measure problem-solving skill. And from and process of assessment to determine the level of competency achievements, teacher can conduct assessment through test and non-test. Tests include oral, written tests, seperti uraian form, multiple choice, short answer, stuffing, matching, and true false. And action tests, which include performance, assignment project, and work product. Non-test assessments such as attitude, interest, motivation, self-assessment, portfolio, and life skill. Okay, and the last material from the group 5, Bloom's taxonomy, grid of tests and procedures in constructing a test. The first point, Bloom taxonomy. Definition of Bloom taxonomy. Taxonomy comes from the Greek taxis, which means setting, and nomos, which means science. Taxonomy is classification system or grouping. Taxonomy is the field of education is a framework for classifying statements that are used to predict students' ability to learn as a result of learning activities. The concept of Bloom's taxonomy was introduced by Benjamin S. Bloom, an educational psychologist, with his friend. Bloom's taxonomy classification ada 3 macam. Yang pertama, cognitive domain, containing of behaviors that emphasize intellectual aspects such as knowledge, understanding, and thinking skill. Bloom divided the cognitive domain into 6 levels and denoted by C or cognitive. C1, knowledge, the operational words mention, memorize, read, and etc. C2, comprehension, the operational word menjelaskan, menjabarkan, mengidentifikasi, dan lain sebagainya. And C3, application, the operational word menerapkan, menyesuaikan, mengoperasikan, dan lain sebagainya. And C4 analysis, the operational word, menganalisis, memecahkan, menelaah, dan lain-lain. And C5 synthesis, the operational word, mengabstraksi, mengoreksi, menyusun, dan lain-lain. And the last C6 evaluation, the operational word, summarize, project, and etc. The next point, affective domain, relate to attitudes, values, feelings, emotions, and the degree of acceptance or rejection or of the object in teaching and learning activities. This affective domain consists of the 5 domains relate to emotional response to text. Di sini ada 5 jenis, yaitu receiving, responding, following, organization, and characterization. And the next point, psychomotor domain. This domain includes the competence to do work involving the body, relate to physical movement consisting of reflex movement, basic movement skills, as well as expensive. There are 7 subcategories of the psychomotor domain, such as perception, sets, guided response, mechanical responses, complex response, judgment, and creativity. And the second point, grid of tests. First, definition of grid. The grid is format of metric that contains criteria regarding the question needed or to be complete. The grid can also be interpreted as a test blueprint or table of specification, which is a description of the competencies and material to be tested. It is a table that contains details of material and behavior along with the balanced proportions desired by the appraiser. The purpose of preparing the grid is to determine the scope and as a guide in writing question. Second, the function of grid. Guided guidelines in writing question to be complete. The question writer will produce questions that are in accordance with the purposes of the text. And the third, grid writing. In writing the problem grid, the teacher must pay attention to the following things. School name, education unit, subject, class or semester, model curriculum, time allocation, number of questions, writer and teaching, or teacher, competency standard, basic competencies, subject matter, indicator question, question from, and question number. And the third point, procedures in constructing a test. In making tests, the teacher must knowing about systematic step. If the teacher does not know about the procedures in making a test, it is like a big mistake will occur to the teacher and will determine the detrimental to students themselves. According to Silvers, there are 11 procedures in constructing a test. Ada planning the test, curriculum analysis, textbook analysis, write a grid of question, writing indicator, write question, limited test reproduction, trying out the test, item analysis, test revision, and the last, assembling question into tests. That's all my presentation. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.